Uh, Naturally, incredibly disappointed that, for the second game in a row, we can't seem to find the competitive spirit to compete and be in the game at the end as we did earlier in the year. Even going back to the transition from Mac to myself, we were far more competitive just a few weeks ago, and can't necessarily put my finger on why that's the case the last two games. Certainly have to figure that out, with an off day tomorrow and two games to prepare for a really good UVA team that's fighting for their lives as well. Obviously goes without saying we're playing some teams in Wake Forest and Virginia Tech and UVA that are playing for something that's, a little bigger than what our guys may be playing for. But, I've tried continuously, our whole staff has to convince our guys that, although we aren't necessarily playing for an at-large berth in the NCAA tournament, we still have a lot to play for. It starts with pride. It also starts with trying to create some momentum and getting to Brooklyn and going one day at a time. But the game has to be played the right way, regardless of the score. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to be competitive throughout the game, in particular to start the game, and that's been incredibly frustrating and something that we have to put our finger on in the next coming days.
If you have a question, drop it in the chat. We'll start with Brett.
Yeah, Mike, just wanted to ask you about not bringing Malik on the trip and what went into that decision.
Just the coach's decision, to be quite honest. Just didn't think that it was fair and something that, I just hold doing things the right way in a high regard, and I didn't feel like that was the case the other day, and so I just elected to, not allow Malik to come on this trip. It's, on senior night on Saturday. I fully expect him to be out there. I intend on starting, as it stands right now, all of the seniors and giving them an opportunity to start the game, and we'll see how it goes from there. But without me elaborating on it any more than that, it was just the coach's decision. Just felt like it was best for the team for us to move on this game without Malik.
Brett, do you have any others or anybody else? Drop a note in the chat.
Yep. Mike, quickly, do you know any update on Jalen? All we got was kind of like lower leg.
From what I understand, he strained his MCL. Or maybe not even his MCL, strained his knee. I won't go so far as to say MCL. He hyperextended his knee or strained his knee, and I guess he tried to go, run around, get on the bike, and he just didn't feel comfortable. So I was told at halftime that he wouldn't be able to go.
Rick?
Yeah, Mike, it's 2 games in a row you guys have gotten beaten decisively. Do you think your guys have quit?
I wouldn't say that they've quit. I will say that they're, clearly their spirit is broken. And, when you lose in the fashion that you do the last 2 games, it's hard to stay in the fight and compete every possession the way that you need to. I'm really disappointed though, because we're only down 12 at halftime, and I know we're treading water a little bit in the first half, but we literally put ourselves in a really bad spot by giving up 18 points or giving them 18 points off of our turnovers. So a lot of what went wrong in the first half is self-inflicted and something that we can control. Offensively, we just are disconnected. I feel like I'm having to call a set play every time down just to get us organized. And when I don't call one, we aren't necessarily flowing the way that we need to flow. And it's creating, some incongruence amongst the group. Guys are a little disconnected, and I'm sure that led to some of those turnovers. But at the end of the day, we have to be stronger with the ball. We certainly guarded Virginia Tech pretty well in the first half at times. And when we took away their primary action, they were able to go to the next action. And get something, and we weren't able to do that. But to answer your question again, I do not think guys have quit. I just think that they're broken right now, and their confidence is low, and we have to find a way as a staff and as a team to bring them back up, to get off the mat and find a way to compete every possession the right way against UVA.
Go to Brett and then Michael.
Yeah, Mike, Sidney obviously had another big scoring game. He put the ball on the floor once. He made a couple of nice passes. Are you even in the wake of not seeing a lot of positives. Are you seeing some growth from him offensively beyond just scoring around the rim?
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job the last 2 games of carrying us, and he's the guy that we really want to get the ball in the hands of on offense. The problem is against Wake Forest, we struggled with the trap that we didn't expect, and we did anticipate Virginia Tech trapping us on a quick turnaround. We tried to give Sid some answers, and on a couple of plays, he made some good passes. On a couple other plays, he turned the ball over. But, it's going to happen, especially when he's, when he has the ball in his hands so much, he's not going to make the right play every single time. But I thought he did a really good job of handling himself, and we try to move him around a little bit, get him the ball at the top of the key, give him the ball at the elbow, give him the ball on the block. At the same time, I want to get other guys involved in the game so Sid doesn't have to do everything. And, there's a balance there that we need to find. But, we want to play through Sid, absolutely, because he's shown that he can carry us on the offensive end.
Michael?
Hey, Mike, obviously a very difficult time for the team. They're struggling to find wins. They don't know what the future is going to hold. Behind the scenes, when you're with them in practice, what's their demeanor? Do they seem positive to you, or do they seem like they're kind of excited for that next game at all? What's their personal makeup like behind the scenes?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I would tell you that in practice and behind the scenes, the guys are, they're enthusiastic. They're not down, right? They get in practice and they compete and they get after each other. And, sometimes there's spats here and there in terms of, guys going at each other so much that, it gets frustrating. It's never been physical, just so everybody understands that. It's never been physical whatsoever. But guys get into it, which means to me that guys still care and guys are still competing. The problem I think that we have in these games are the teams that we're playing right now are really connected. They have a really good feel for what they're trying to do. They've been able to progress throughout the season under the same leadership, under the same continuity on both ends of the floor. They know what they want to do. They attack it. And at some point during the game, we become a little disjointed or we miss something and, leads build. And that's when guys start to, splinter a little bit and in terms of their spirit, the connectivity, every huddle that we had down the stretch, there was no infighting. Guys were willing to get in the game and play and try to finish the game the right way, even when they go up big. So there's none of that. But at the same time, early in the game, when we go down early and we have to find a way to start off better, I'm really frustrated with that. The last 2 games, we don't get off to a great start, but there's just a stretch at some point in the game where they go on the run and we just can't recover.
Last 2 questions, Rick and then Brett.
Yeah, Mike, just to go back to Malik quickly, this is the second time he's been suspended. What is your reasoning for letting him to come back and play again on Saturday?
Well, it's senior night, and, I think even despite everything that has gone on this season, I think that Malik deserves the opportunity to walk out on the floor for senior night. It's unfortunate what's transpired this season, and but nonetheless, I just feel like that's the right thing to do, so that's what we're going to do.
Brett?
Mike, that was my question, so I'll just follow up to just clarify. You said it hasn't gotten physical. Do you mean you're talking about you haven't had physical altercations between players and stuff?
Never, never, Brett, never. That is, I don't know where that junk comes from, but that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. There hasn't been any of that. Sometimes as a coach, especially early in the year in the preseason, you don't mind if something gets physical because you want to see guys competing. We compete in practice. We get after each other. We've tried to condense practice as the season has gone on to no more than about an hour and a half. But guys compete, but it's never become anything crazy where guys are, again, it gets physical. There's never been any of that whatsoever in not one practice the entire season.
Great. Thank you, Coach. We'll be back with Sydney Curry shortly.